Hello, my name is Ben Wilkoff, and welcome to another daily anti-fascist video of Inspired Defiance. Today I'm inspired by the 70 or so comments that were left on the 4 videos that I made last week. While this isn't exclusively true, it is clear that the videos struck a chord with a certain portion of the YouTube audience that is very much confused about the word fascism. They're not quite sure about the definition, but they know that anybody that claims to be anti-fascist must also be somehow fascist. Many of these commenters are so confused about what fascism is and isn't that I thought it might be helpful to look at a guiding document from one of the founders and fathers of fascism, Benito Mussolini. In 1932, Benito Mussolini wrote a treatise called The Doctrine of Fascism, in which he tries to describe what he means when he is talking about fascism. I'm going to use it as a way of describing what I mean when I am talking about fascism, because it's super easy to call it out when you see it. It's super easy when the people are claiming what it is. So in these quotes, I'm going to try and define fascism for the purposes of this channel, as well as to decide what it means to be anti-fascist. Because I believe these words and these ideas are terrible. They were soundly defeated in the 1930s and 40s, and even though they are back and in vogue now, does not mean that we need to reevaluate them. And it certainly doesn't mean that we need to quibble over what definition of fascism we are using. Because it is written by the people who decided what fascism was, I'm not interested in rewriting history to make fascism look good. And I'm not trying to say that anti-fascism is anything other than what we believed during World War II and the subsequent decades, where we were trying to fight fascism in every corner of the globe. So let's get started. In one of his first statements, Mussolini says, "Fascism is not only a system of government, but also and above all a system of thought." So it is not enough that a fascist government police the people in all of the functions of public life, but rather that the people must police themselves into a right way of thinking. When I say I am anti-fascist, I mean that the government and the state in general has no role to play in what a person believes or wants to do with their lives. Mussolini says that fascism is anti-individualistic. The fascist conception of life stresses the importance of the state and accepts the individual only insofar as his interests coincide with those of the state. The things that you care about, that are precious to you, if they are not what the state wants, what the fascist government is interested in, then you don't get to keep them. You don't get to keep on either believing or doing those things because they don't coincide with what the state is asking of you or is asking you to be. I am anti-fascist because I believe that individuals and the collective power of individuals is stronger and more important than what the state is saying that we should do or be. Mussolini goes on to say that fascism is therefore opposed to that form of democracy which equates a nation to the majority. He goes on and continues to discuss the idea that the majority's opinion is not valid if it doesn't coincide with what the fascists believe. I am anti-fascist because I believe that individuals can vote in their own best interests, and I believe that democracy and direct democracy, with the majority of people voting for the things that they want, that is enough to correct corruption, that is enough to support the things that we might want to do in order to create progress, that alone, a majoritarian perspective, is enough to make sure that there are no despots, that there are no dictatorships, that we are not controlled by some massive other. Any attack on majoritarian democracy is an attack on our way of life. Mussolini says that the fascist state is an inwardly accepted standard and rule of conduct, a discipline of the whole person. It permeates the will no less than the intellect. It stands for a principle which becomes the central motive of man as a member of a civilized society, sinking deep down into his personality. This idea of internalizing fascism to the point where you are in acceptance and fully understand what it is to be subjugated by the state, and you willingly accept it, you want it. That is the truth of fascism. I am anti-fascist because I do not believe that any one person or one idea should rule the day, should rule us all, should get to dictate who we are within ourselves in our most quiet of moments. I'm not interested in others subjugating my will for my own future. In the next section, Mussolini speaks about fascism's relationship to war. He says that fascism does not, generally speaking, believe in the possibility or utility of perpetual peace. He goes on and says, war alone keys up all human energies to their maximum tension and sets the seal of nobility on those peoples who have the courage to face it. And therefore, all doctrines which postulate peace at all costs are incompatible with fascism. To me, the idea of war as something we should value, as something we should want, as something that is necessary and good for our nation, seems to me to be anathema to the American pursuit. The American pursuit of forming a more perfect union, of trying to come together rather than separate, of a United States. I am anti-fascist because the fascists believe that democracy has to go, and I am pro-democracy. Mussolini says that fascism denies the equation that well-being equals happiness. Fascism denies the materialistic conception of happiness as a possibility. He goes on to say, the maxim that society exists only for the well-being and freedom of the individuals composing it does not seem to be in conformity with nature's plans. Ultimately, he believes that happiness and well-being are not goals worthy of your time. The only goals worthy of your time are elevating the state and denying the self. I am anti-fascist because I believe that well-being and happiness are not too much to ask for. So let's talk about what the fascist state wants. Mussolini says the fascist state is not a night watchman, solicitous only of the personal safety of the citizens, nor is it organized exclusively for the purpose of guaranteeing a certain degree of material prosperity and relatively peaceful conditions of life. The fascist state does not care about you. Fascists do not care about you. They're not interested in keeping you safe. They're not interested in your prosperity or in keeping things peaceful. In fact, they invite conflict. They want it because it allows them to stay in control. I am anti-fascist because I believe that a government's purpose is, at least in part, to keep its people safe. And not just some of the people, but all of the people. Mussolini ends his treatise like this. If liberalism spells individualism, fascism spells government. Furthermore, he says, never before have the peoples thirsted for authority, direction, order as they do now. If each age has its doctrine, then innumerable symptoms indicate that the doctrine of our age is the fascist. I am here to say that it was not true in 1932 that it was the age of the fascist. And is certainly not true in 2025. Fascism is intent on saying that this government is right and you have no right to question it. Well, I, for one, am questioning it. And if you want to keep on debating and going back and forth in the comments, that's just fine. I'm interested in dialogue. I'm interested in trying to figure out where we have common ground, where we can come together and actually create solidarity against fascism. But I'm not interested in debating what fascism is or isn't. Fascists have done that for us. They have used their own words and they have defined it. And if you want a government that denies the individual and is only interested in state-sponsored ideas, policies, and reality, then I think we really have some work to do. I'm anti-fascist because I believe that our grandfathers and great-grandfathers were right in stopping fascism in the 1930s and 40s. And I think it is right to do so again now.